All right.
Howdy,
Loving
guys.
the
All
background.
right, we're almost live.
Yay. Can you hear me?
Yay! We can hear you.
Okay.
Marco.
Marco Polo.
Crazy chicken.
TJ, I got to cut up early today. I apologize.
It's
Right?
for a good thing, though.
Yes. Stuff we talked about yesterday. Day
All right.
before.
Well, on top of that, we just went live. So here we are, live for Triple T number 145. 145 weeks in a row. Who'd have thunk it? Yeah, right? My name is TJ Zebel. I like to refer to myself as a professional problem solver, which I always follow up with, no, I don't know everything. I just have a unique way of asking lots of questions to help people get down to the answer they're looking for. I have the privilege of helping people with depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD. I offer corporate coaching. I work with athletes from beginner all the way up to pro level. I've been getting so much relationship work with clients. About ready to do another class for restaurant servers. So if anybody out there has a favorite restaurant that you know is not really up to, the servers aren't doing quite as well as they could, have them reach out. What else? Got another class coming up for real estate agents. So if you know any real estate agents that would like some inside tips on communications, and no, I'm not going to teach you the languaging. That's the funny part. I've had a couple of real estate agents that have been in real estate for a long time. And when I tell them I teach real estate agents, they're like, "Oh, isn't that sweet? Are you an agent? Are you a broker?" I'm like, no, I could be. But a couple of them reluctantly, I'm going to say, took the class. And it didn't take long before they were like, "Oh, well, I never thought of that. Oh, I never, oh." I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm telling you this isn't about the stuff that's been done for the last 300 years. So, if you know anybody that owns a restaurant or is into real estate, have them reach out. Also, I've got a class for car salesmen because I used to do that as well. I know the ins and outs, and I know how badly some of the successful ones are still doing it. Yes, I said it. It's on the internet. So there. But enough of that. We are on the internet. We are live on YouTube, so I get to say, "Hi, Mom." And for those of you that are on YouTube, please do all the YouTube stuff. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave some comments, comment on your comments, comment on other people's comments, and then share the videos so that we can get the word out, not for my glory, but so we can help as many people as possible. There's Dandy Dan. Good to see you, my friend. And also, speaking of internet, I do have a website, thetswb.com, thetallskinnywhiteboy.com. Yes, that's what it stands for. Do not look anything else up. I'm just warning you. The other stuff is not me. I've been the tall, skinny white boy since '86, so that's way before the internet. I am the tall, skinny white boy. And I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. If you know anybody that is looking for some help, some answers, any of the above, send them my way. They've got 30 minutes for us to chat. And if I can be of help to them, I will let them know. If we're not a fit, I will let them know, because I want to make sure that they are coming to me for the right reasons, not for the money. Michael, got your hand up?
I just want to attest to that. You are amazing at asking questions, finding deeper reasons, and I appreciate you.
Appreciate that testimonial. That, yeah, paychecks in the mail. Appreciate you. Just kidding. What else? Oh, time to introduce the tie of the week. Yes, I have been doing a different tie every week this entire year. That's how many ties I own. So this tie is brought to you by Classy Taz, Daffy, Bugs, Wiley. Yeah, look at those guys. Who doesn't want to do business with these guys? So that brings us right into review of the last week. Who's got something they want to share? Ahas, epiphanies, cool stuff from the last 7 days. Anybody got anything cool? Lenora.
I have something cool, of which I'm super excited. And if anybody would like to participate, you're welcome to. Oh, it's 7:07 my time. Good luck. I have been hosting my 5-day challenge, Mindful Eating Reset Challenge, which is super exciting. And it's been going great. Lots of ahas, lots of insights, lots of takeaways. And it is my first challenge that I have been offering. So this is a really, really awesome thing. And it's almost like having your own conference each day.
Right on. And I am uber proud of you. I know what you went through to get this put together. So cool. Michael.
Thank you.
I'm going to add to what I said a minute ago. We put out a little thing yesterday, the day before when we were talking, and put it out in the universe, and stuff transpired without even me having to ask for the stuff that we asked. So just so you know, kind of cool.
That's what we're talking about.
So we pulled the trigger, and we've got big things happening with Lunch Money Club.
Very cool. Another thing to keep track of. You heard it first, right here on Triple T. Funny, I did that voice the other day in town, and somebody goes, "Are you a DJ?"
Yes.
Nope, but I used to be. That's right, coming to you live. What else? I think that's it. Anybody, if we don't have anybody else that has anything to share, we can move right into the topics. So last call, Bueller. All right, tonight's topics: scary mirrors, 3 mice, and broken wings. We were having a little chit chat before we went live, and Holly goes, "Is this a Halloween theme?" I'm like, "No, it is the month." But as those of you that regularly follow Triple T, and I appreciate you very much, you know that I like to throw in funky little names, and I get a lot of topics from clients, and this week is no different. Scary mirrors. This is in alignment with kind of a bit on a cross between mind reading and spotlight effect, and I will decipher both of those later. But what it is the amount of judgment people put on themselves by things that other people say to them.
Ooh.
Feeling judged, wondering why a certain person treats you a certain way, talks to you a certain way, maybe doesn't like you, and thinking it has something to do with you. And oftentimes what we find out is it doesn't have anything to do with you. Especially when you start working on yourself, what happens is you're holding up a mirror and they're noticing their issues. But they don't recognize it as such. Especially when you're doing change work. That's when this is going to happen the most. And I've got 4 or 5 clients right now that are in that I call it the lonely sweet spot. Because you've basically outgrown your old tribe, because you start seeing how much of your energy they're sucking away from you, and how little they want to advance the way you do. And the problem is, as you're improving yourself, your mirror is not only getting cleaner, it's getting bigger. And it scares them. You're changing, and they're noticing that they may or may not notice they're not changing. And some of them will get downright angry with you for changing because they don't want to. Not realizing that you're not imposing on them to change. And so one analogy or metaphor that I used was, if you're old enough to remember when radios had dials, knobs, where you had to tune in the station, not the digital readout, you actually had to go back and forth between and find that sweet spot to get the clear signal. Well, if the station changed format and all of a sudden you're like, the station I've been listening to forever sucks. I need to find a better station. And you start changing the frequency. And for a while, you got to put up a static. And it's going to get, I know, it's going to get kind of lonely. Especially people who haven't moved a lot in their life. I've moved a ton of times, right, Mom? Mom will tell you. She's, where are you at this month, dear? And the nice thing about that is it forced me to start over many times. But in starting over many times, it taught me sometimes the hard way that the group that will welcome you in the easiest, the quickest, isn't exactly the best group for you. There's a reason why some places charge admission. And sometimes they charge good amounts of admission. And the people on the outside can get angry because they want to be in, but they're sure as heck not going to pay that price. That's just a bunch of jerks in there. They're just what blah 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 blah. And they can say that partly because they don't know what's inside. And you don't fully know either. You just know that you want to be in there with that group. Lenora.
I would definitely agree with that, especially when it comes to, I used to think, but I'm a nice person. You should just want me in the group.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't think, and if people were charging for it, I used to think you just want my money. So those were two very restricting thought processes that I had that really prevented me from going and exploring in new areas. And the one of they just wanted my money, or they just want my money, or they want something from me and I wasn't necessarily going to get anything in return. It never felt like an exchange. It always felt like something they wanted more. And that stuck with me for a very long time. And I'm telling you, like, this is probably one that started to shift in 2022 and continues to shift, thankfully, and to really be a part of groups that value themselves, but also see the value in others. Even in those groups, you still have to be careful of, are they valuing you? Are you being and having that exchange of value? Or did one of them get in the group and they're not giving and receiving in the same way, if that makes sense?
Yep.
Okay.
And that brought up two things. One, if you've been around Triple T for a while, you know ABT, ABT, ABT. What's ABT?
Always be testing.
Always be testing. But I think I'm going to either get a bumper sticker or a T-shirt that's going to make sure that you can see it the two ways I mean it, because it's two different ways. Always be testing. Always be testing. How often do you test? Always. How many different ways do you test? All ways. So ABT, always be testing, always be testing. And especially when you are in that lonely sweet spot, because it's time to build another tribe, a new tribe. And so when I'm working with my clients, of the 3 journals that I have them work on, one is your tribe. What are you looking for in a new tribe? What would you like to learn? How would you like to grow? What are you looking for in the tribe, but what can they pull forward out of you? What can they cause you to grow into? What kind of a person can they enhance you into being? There's a big difference between hanging around with people that talk about they just got an hourly raise and being around people that are talking about what their latest portfolio did. And the energy is a lot different. The discussions are a lot different. And I've hung around both. Oh, yay! I just got my evaluation and I'm up to $19 an hour. Whee! Versus, yeah, I just sold off some of my stocks. My portfolio is looking really good. Now we're up, this year we're up probably about another 40%. So I'm right around that. That's where I want to be. And if somebody happens to ask them what their portfolio is worth nowadays, it's a different discussion. And it's a mindset. Now, for those of you that are getting all angry because I'm slamming on people that are making an hourly wage, I'm not slamming on you. I started there, I've been there, I understand it. But I've also been around the millionaire next door. And their discussion, they've allowed me to be hanging around with them and their buddies, their tribe. And it allowed me to not only feel, it allowed me to feel small in a good way. Because they didn't talk down to me. They taught me that I had a new language to learn. And so when you're writing down the details for your new tribe, that can be one of the things is I want to learn new languages like portfolios, tax breaks, tax shelters, LLCs, business strategies. These get added into your tribe portfolio. A good thing to be adding in for a tribe portfolio for us. I want to learn past regression, color breathing, spinning, all of these things. Now, this is a language that the vast majority of the people on the street don't know. That's our tribe. And for those of you watching this, you're welcome to join our tribe. We're a friendly group. But it is a tribe. Michael.
Real quick, along the dark mirror situation, when you feel the vibe, you got to trust your gut. And basically, what I've done in the past, and everyone's going to have their own way of diffusing or asking the questions about the dark mirror, but if I feel something like something's weird, I'm going to say, "Did I offend you? What's happening here?" Try to bring humor into it because humor,
Yep.
in my case, uses a lot of stuff. And what happens, generally speaking, they're like, "Oh no, I woke up bad and had this, and the dog needed braces, and it just happened, and I apologize." And then you can actually start having communication. But if you don't call out that elephant in the room, it could be something like as little as you remind this person of somebody, and you have nothing in common with that person, but just because your hair, it just clicked. So you need to get past that, get through it.
And it's insights like that that make you an amazing salesperson. So many people that think that sales is just, oh, hey, yeah, I've got this widget for sale. You want it? And that's why I'm so adamant about teaching that stuff. Simply because it becomes so much easier when you understand the mechanics behind the sale, behind communication. Those of you that have been around me, the trifecta. Oh, here he goes again, the trifecta. Yes. Echo talk, 3 magic questions, values and criteria elicitation. Peace out, brother. Go get them. But the trifecta is applicable for everything, including the mirrors. It's an easy way to build rapport, but it's also an easy way to learn how to find out what it is that's going on. And it's also a good way for you to also introspect yourself. When you are around certain people and you notice that you're getting irritated, aggravated, whatever, and you can't pinpoint something that they did at you, oftentimes there was something in the mirror, in their mirror, that you saw of yourself that bugs you. And you need to pay close attention to that as well, because we all got stuff we can work on. I remember one of the classes we were teaching, we covered a protocol, a technique, and one of the students came in the next morning and goes, "Man, I did that technique like 3 times yesterday, and then this morning, when you went to review it, I found more stuff. When am I going to be done?" Never. Never? What the Dude, I hate to break it to you. You're in the human experience. Yes, there will always be something to work on. And that's a good thing, because the only time there's nothing to work on is shortly after you take your very last breath on this planet, as far as we know. Now, when you do past life regression, you figure out that some of the stuff that you didn't work on gets handed to the next person. Hey, I collected all this junk. Here, take it with you. You won't even know it's there. You won't even know what it is. But bring it along for as many lifetimes as you want till somebody figures out how to fix it. I know. I just had a client today that we went back 13 lifetimes. Medieval time. Had some stuff to clean up. And clean up we did. So, any ahas, epiphanies, comments on scary mirrors and the stuff we've covered so far?
Not a lot. It's just like you were talking about. Ed Milet talks about how you're always chasing your next best, next version of who you are. So you know when you say about you're never done, you're just never done.
That's right. And what a great competition to be in the person you were yesterday. You're never done, because you can always look at the person you were yesterday, the person you were last week, and there's always something that you could improve. And that's why ABT is about everything. When you're out in public, testing what you see in the people around you. What do you notice? What stands out? Why did that stand out? What is it about it that interests you? The more you become interested in people, not only will you understand people better, but you'll start to understand yourself better if you test properly and understand how the mirrors work. You start talking to people and you're like, well, what? Or you're leaving and you're like, what an idiot. Now, for those that have not been around this concept, what an idiot. And that's it. That's done. They're an idiot. For those that have been around self-work, they're an idiot for some reason. They don't match my They irritate me because you can start analyzing the foundation of your values and criteria. What was it about it? What was it about them that offended me? What is that in my values and criteria? It doesn't mean you have to change it. But if you understand it, it's easier to have empathy for what they are, who they are, what they might be going through. Now, I don't know how many times I've had people lash out at me, and one of the easiest ways that I shut it down was like, wow, sounds like you got a story. Tell me about it. What happened? Why are you so angry? Well, no, I get it. You're mad, but what happened? What is it about that certain belief system that I have, or that really makes you mad, and where did you learn to be mad about it? And every now and then, they'll see themselves in the mirror. They go, wow, sorry, I just, when I was a kid, I used to get picked on about such and such. It's kind of a raw subject. There, see? I knew it didn't have anything to do with me, but it's okay. You just saw that little angry kid in the mirror.
Mhm.
So, any other comments? Yes, Lenora. Microphone.
Usually helps,
Yeah.
especially when we talk about having that state control and being able to, especially with people that are close to us. And I think you've said it to me a couple of times that it's not about me, but it's at me.
Yes.
And having that state control that says, let me hold my curiosity. Let me approach this without judgment and recognize, yes, at first response, it feels like it's coming right to me. How can I be curious? How can I be open-minded? And it really is helpful when the more we practice that, especially, it's so much easier to practice that with strangers versus people that are close to you, that are in your space.
Amen.
And I like what you had shared about the mirrors, especially being able to stop and say, it sounds like there's a story there, or it sounds like you're thinking something very specific. Do you want to get that out? Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to put it out on the table?
Yeah. And while you were describing that, it reminded me, we'd talked about this before, and I labeled it protective empathy. When you are aware of things like this and you can have empathy for people, it not only helps you deal with their outbursts, but it protects you as well. The more you understand it, the better your empathy protects you, because you understand this isn't about me. They're not angry, as you said, at me. It's not about that. Rewind. Too many squirrels.
It's not about me. It's at me.
Yes, it's not about me. It's at me.
Yeah.
And when you have that realization, the energy bounces off of you now instead of being absorbed. Thank you for bringing that up, by the way. Anybody else before we switch gears into another topic? Somebody was up there going, he sounds like he's from the Northland. Yes, I grew up in the Minnesota then, you know. But I'm I'm getting help for that. Little tea for you. Let's move into three mice. Three mice. Notice I didn't say three blind mice. And somewhere out there, I just triggered somebody who's like, "Oh my God, mice!" But this isn't about those mice. This came up in a session with a client regarding relationships. And one of their, now that they've been around Planet TJ for a while, and they've been going through the Triple P protocol, they're starting to watch people a little closer when it comes to relationships. And one of their friends, who was a potential suitor, claimed to want to be a suitor and all the above, but ended up being a really close friend. Well, they just spent the weekend together as friends to do some activities, have some fun. And that's when they were doing some in-depth ABT, watching their friend, who they realized was doing things that they would never accept.
In-depth ABT.
Yeah, well, in-depth ABT, because what they were starting to see is their friend was using them as the wing person and getting names and numbers and being very raw, callous, forward with the people they were getting the numbers from. And
help me out a little bit. What is in-depth ABT? What is ABT?
Always be
for
testing.
us. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yep. Always be testing, always be testing. And that's where they realized the difference between the two.
Should have known the acronym.
Yes. Well, what they found out was this person would flirt with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 people at a time. And go after at least one or two right away to make out with. And they were like, "What the?" And I said, it's three mice. If a cat sees three mice, one mouse will fight with it, will charge it, is not afraid of it, will fight with it, will attack it. One mouse will freeze and do nothing. One mouse will run. Which one does the cat go after?
One that runs.
The one that runs. Every time. And even if it's not hungry, what will the cat do with the mouse that runs?
Play with it.
Uh-huh. Bat around, play with it till it's bored. And it can still see the other two mice that it can easily get to. But if it knows that one of those mice is like, "Oh, hell no. I will die ripping your tongue out if I'm in there. I don't care. You're going to hurt. You'll remember me." And the one that just freezes, I don't know, might be dead. And when I hit my client with that analogy, they went, "But that's wrong. They're going after the weak one. They're going after the," and I went, what are you seeing in the mirror? what they saw was who they were before and how they were chased by certain men who didn't really give a rip. It wasn't the having, it was the getting. It wasn't about a relationship. It was about the notch in the bedpost. It was the score. And when I also compared that to push-pull, if you're not familiar with that, push-pull is the partners that want to keep you emotionally at arm's length. I always use a 5-ring bullseye. And the push-pull person is in the bullseye. They are the bullseye. They are the prize. They're the target. And they will keep their potential that they're after in ring 3. Right here, where it's nice and comfortable, not too close, not too far, right in ring 3. And if you somehow manage to push your way into ring number 2, or heaven forbid, ring number 1, no, the pushback right down. Whoop, whoop, hey, gotta go. That outfit looks terrible on you. You talk too much. Blah, blah, blah. But as soon as you drift to ring number 4, oh, baby, come. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. Come here. I love you. Da, 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 da. To keep you in ring 3. And if you're active in that game, you're the mouse that runs. That's where the play of the game is the most fun for a push-pull. If you're the fighter, push-pull will go out and find something else, something more entertaining, something easier. Correct, Elijah. The power is always held by the party that is willing to walk away. Or as we've always said it, the person who cares the least is the one in charge. And so when you're out in public, ABT, watch the dynamics, especially if you're in a restaurant or if you're out with friends in a bar or a club or something. I tell you what, with my years of bartending, I learned to catch up, watch that game many times. The joke in the bar was always, what's the difference between a man and a woman walking into a bar? A guy walks in the bar at night hoping he'll get some. A woman walks in the bar knowing she'll get some if she lowers her standards enough. Because there'll always be a cat in there that will want to chase something. And low self-esteem, low self-worth has an energy that professional cats pick up on. Which is the perfect segue into the last topic. How do you think broken wing fits in?
I don't know. I was just about to say the previous topic always makes me sad. It almost seems like that there's only one way that it could be. When it comes to broken wing,
Oh, don't worry, it's not only one way. I've watched women
no, I'm
play
saying
the game,
like
but
that there's for two people in a relationship that this is the only way that it is rather than more balanced. Dan, I hope you got him.
I got him.
Yes.
broken, Holly.
That one's got a broken wing.
This isn't the broken wing, but since Lenora kind of brought it up, I was kind of curious. How does all of this, and this could go into broken wing too, but how do we think all of this plays into? I was reading Journey of Souls again, and they talk about the flags of the people that we meet in our lives and recognizing them. I'm just kind of curious what the interplay people think is between this, and you can put that off till later. Just wanted to ask the question so it's in the mind.
Well, what's your first impression on that?
I have no idea. Well, I will say I also have another question for anybody. Do you think that everyone has a person, and I don't necessarily mean a one and only, but that everyone's intended to be with a person? Or is it also possible that some people have designed their lives such that they're supposed to learn something from being alone for their whole lifetime? So, I think free will comes into it because I know that even in the book they were talking about, free will in this life can, if you ignore the flags that were designed to clue you in, you can take different paths. So, like, I know that there's an interplay between the two, but kind of curious.
Those are great questions. As far as are people meant to be, are certain people here to be single their entire life? I think I think that's a good probability, depending on their what do you call it? Their golden path, Mother Teresa or something like that, or there are just certain paths that I think are better suited towards being alone. I don't think that the standard human nature, I don't think, is to be alone. I don't think we were designed to be by ourselves.
I agree.
But-
I think God meant us for relationship.
Yeah. But again, you got to have the yin to the yang. So if you got that, there will be certain areas, certain people that came here to accomplish what they need to accomplish by themselves. For whatever reason. And I forgot the other question or topic. Could we bring that up in the second hour?
Sure.
Write it down so we don't forget. Broken wing. Mark.
Yeah, I was going to answer that question, the broken wing. At least, I don't know. I was going to make a query. Is that sometimes, if the nest is threatened, the bird will, fake a broken wing to get attention. So is that like in a social situation, people adopt that persona of being the broken winged one so they get attention for that?
That's part of the angle. And with tonight's topics, broken wing also fits in the cat on the prowl, whatever, What does it do when it sees a bird with a broken wing? Goes straight for it. And you'll see this a lot in the singles bars, the nightclubs, stuff like that. The ones, yes, low hanging fruit. The ones with the low self-esteem, and it's not even so much as looks, but that energy of the low self-esteem, low self-image. The predators can see that a mile away. And they swoop in on that broken wing. Mark.
Circling back to what Holly said, I had a squirrel that leapt up, and it was Holly. We're all angels with one wing, and as far as soulmates, only together can we fly.
Ooh, good one. That's what I love about Triple T. You never know what to expect, but we've gotten some great stuff. And so when you look at the crossover between all of tonight's topics, scary mirrors, three mice, and broken wing, it doesn't even have to be complete relationship based. The broken wing can simply be having a person in your life that knows your weak spot, knows how to push your buttons, knows how to realizes that you can't fly as well or as high as you should. Sometimes that broken wing is only here, because you've been programmed to believe that you're not allowed to fly over there or fly that high or do those things. You're an eagle that grew up with chickens. Nothing against chickens. But I've never seen a chicken flying the way an eagle flies. But I have seen some chickens fly with the eagles, and they're soon to be supper for the eagle, because that's the only way they can fly that high, up to the eagle's nest for supper, as supper. And with that, I would like, if there's anybody out there that's feeling challenged about their mirrors or what they're noticing around other people, reach out to any of us on here. That's what we're here for. Understand when you start feeling things around certain people, if there's a pattern, keep track of that. You don't know what it is. You may not know what it is that they're bringing out in you. And if you're looking at dating, you get to choose which mouse you are. That's why in my Triple P protocol, I have my clients take a year off from being in a committed relationship, but they are informed that they are now to go out and they need to fill their activity calendar as much as possible. Get out and do things that you normally wouldn't do. Sign up for classes, activities that are not in your norm. Just to do stuff around different people. Because the quest is to be around different people. ABT. What do you notice? What stands out? Why? We're redesigning your life for the next chapter. Don't bring all of the same information and rewrite it, copy and paste onto the next page and call it a new chapter. Prepare yourself for the static, the good quiet time, the positive lonely time. Take the time to really think about where you want to be in the next chapter. We're coming up, it's almost time for a new year, and we know that this
84 days.
Yeah, and this coming year could be interesting, especially with what's coming up very quickly. And so take some time. Who do you want to be next year? Who do you want to be a year from now? Why? Who do you want in your tribe? What do you want your tribe to do for you? And what do you want to offer them? Decide which mouse you want to be. If you start doing introspect and realize that you've been either the runner or the freeze one, can you make it work for you?
That's the difficult part, Louis. Sometimes you sit there and like you and I have talked about it. If you've been in, let's say, the Truman Show here, and you've lived in this little bubble and stuff, which we all have, we all live in our own bubbles. Sometimes you don't even know that there's an opportunity that you could be something other than the runner.
Exactly.
And like you were talking about the broken wing. I mean, I was just sitting there thinking to myself, I was going, okay, I've been the person with the broken wing, because I think sometimes I think we get used to feeling sorry for ourselves, and actually, it serves a purpose for us.
Exactly. That's why in my class, Identity Management University, I will ask the students, if you could change anything about your life, what would you add, subtract, or amplify? If you could be anybody else, if you could look at anybody who's alive or dead, real or fictitious, and be able to cherry pick personality traits or different things and put them into your realm, what would that be like? And then what I've learned to do is I will make them put together that list, get an idea of what that would look like, and I will have them leave the classroom. They're told to close your eyes, turn around 2-3 times, come back into the classroom as that person, acting, talking, standing, walking, breathing, hand gestures of how that person would be. We want to see how many different nuances we can detect. And the changes are awesome. They're amazing. People come in and they are completely different people. Until they're like, well, it was just an act. And I said, yes. And the fact that you could show it to us means that you can do it. All the ingredients you need are already in the pantry. Just because you were told that you're not allowed to put red cherry flake on top of your apple pie, that's because that was their values and criteria. But you're not that, you don't have to live by their standards anymore. We went over this last week regarding houses. When you go in and totally remodel your house, just because your friends, your family would never do it that way, doesn't mean that you can't. And when they show up and look at your house or look at your pie or look at your creation or look at you, who you've decided to become, and they want to judge, guess what they're seeing? They're seeing something in the mirror that bothers them. But it's in the mirror. It's not about you, it's at you. Here ends the first hour. Ah! Any questions, ahas, epiphanies before we switch gears? Yes, no, maybe? All right, for those of you that are watching on YouTube for the first time or watching the recording for the first time, the way we work it here on Triple T, second hour is open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call gets to ask a question, bring up a topic, and I will sit back and let anybody on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. And then if there's anything left that I feel I can add to the answer, that's when I add my 2 centavos. So Holly had a question earlier. I hope you wrote it down. And do you want to start with that, Holly, or do you have another one?
Hopefully you can hear me over the jet flyover that I didn't know was happening today. I'll kind of give some context for anybody who doesn't understand the question. So for those of you who've read the book Journey of Souls, basically there was a hypnotist, and anyone else who's read it, feel free to elaborate if it needs it. But basically there was a hypnotist who hypnotized a lot of people who ended up going to kind of their life planning sessions in between lives. And basically he documented kind of what they reported, what was similar between different people's experiences. Anyway, so one of the things that they talk about is the one person who was in hypnosis called them red flags, where they said that they were kind of in their planning meeting and there were certain people they were supposed to meet in life that were going to be significant. And so what they do is they would agree on ways they'd recognize each other. So it might be, I'm going to recognize the smell of your perfume. Or in one case, someone said that they were going to recognize a specific locket having the light, reflect off it in a certain way. And that was supposed to be a lady that was going to teach him to respect people. So it doesn't necessarily, have to be your person, whatever. Anyway, and they did mention in these planning sessions that, free will is a thing and you can ignore these signs when you see them. Sometimes you have more than one to make sure that you catch them. So I was just kind of curious how all of this idea of we've given ourselves ways of recognizing people who are significant and when they're going to come into our lives, how does that kind of play into when we're maybe using suboptimal strategies and one person's getting a lot of attention based on the strategies they're using versus somebody who's, sorry, here comes this flyover again. I don't know I know I'm kind of rambling here, but a combination of that. And then also we kind of touched on it, but are there people who are meant to, maybe they have a life path for this particular life? They're supposed to be alone. And how would someone sense, yes, I'm supposed to be alone versus no, I'm just supposed I'm supposed to be using different strategies, if that makes sense. Like, how would you know the difference between those two kind of lifetimes if that's a thing?
Okay, who's got some feedback for that?
I'll also throw in there too, if you do miss out on meeting somebody significant, do we think that you'll meet them again at some point, or is it kind of like you missed them, you're taking a different path now?
Anybody got anything to offer for that? Lenora.
I like to think of the idea that every pot has its lid. And whether it is, there are people who go into relationships who feel that they are completely meant to be together. There are people who go into relationships who feel that they complement each other. So whatever belief system that works for you, I think is the one to go with. But to say that I came in and I had no intention of meeting anybody, and now I want to meet somebody, I think that goes back to free will. And I actually wrote something down here, so we'll see if it goes along with you. Free will and destiny work hand in hand. Destiny is free will from a higher level. And I thought that was really important. I had heard it when I was listening to something, because we can throw these terms around and we say we have free will and we get to decide and we play a factor, of which I do think is true. We continue to create the life that we want through our own perceptions. If being alone is something that somebody wants to explore, I think that's their free will. If being with somebody is something that somebody wants to explore, again, that goes into their own free will. Especially because if you look at certain people, let's say Mother Teresa, or women that become nuns, or other people that enter certain religious spaces that they know going in, this feels aligned with me. This is calling me. It's pulling me in. It's not necessarily something that they might have decided before they got here. I'm not too sure. I feel like that's something definitely worth exploring. But for me and my belief system, I like the idea that there is somebody for each person. How they fit together, how it's important to them, and what works for them. That's what I like to believe.
Awesome. Thank you for that answer. Anybody else got anything to add to that? Mark.
There's a book out there called Many Lives, Many Souls. And, the basic thing, tenet is that over the course of lifetimes, you tend to bump into the same people in each round, with each lifetime. And, I feel like, and it's like you feel totally comfortable. You just meet somebody and you feel totally safe and incredibly comfortable right from the moment you meet them. And I think that's, again, I think that's how these souls that have been kind of palling around for quite a while meet, and if, and to address Holly's query, if you meet somebody and, wrong place, wrong time. I forget the name of that movie with, I think it was Tom Hanks and in the airport, and they kept bumping into each other, and I'm thinking that if two souls are meant to be together, I think they'll keep the terminal. They'll keep bumping into each other, Holly. And and you might not recognize that this person is, but the first time, but eventually you get enough hits to the head that you realize, hey, this is I keep bumping into this person. There's got to be something going on here, So And, so I believe that we, again, like you said, people have said in the planning stages, I think you get the, between rounds, you get the pull down menu, and you tend to, get to try out new personas, new paths, new, for the next round, so factors into what Lenora said about destiny, and, you get to choose your, what in broad, broad pet swaths, in the next round, yeah, I want to do this, 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 and this. And then you hand the menu, the pull down menu up to the cook, and then, the higher power, and they weave all those things together for the next round. So that's my belief system.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I'd like to add on there also when I'm working with clients and things like that, especially in the relationship stuff. A lot of times when we do foundational work and retro work, things of that nature, they find that in past lives there were certain events that caused them to make certain choices because at the time they didn't understand that they survived it, and that information still carries forward. One of the clients I worked with just last week, we did regression, and they found out that one of their lovers had done some very nasty things to them. And that information, that energy carried forward, and they couldn't understand why they just didn't want to trust anybody. And so when we cleaned that up, now they're starting new and fresh. And ABT kind of took on a different view for them, because before we had that aha, that epiphany, ABT meant they were always on guard looking for what could be wrong. What can go wrong? What are they hiding? What are they? And now they admitted when they're testing, it's back to what it should be. What is it about the person that I notice? Why did I notice it? And what does that mean to me, both good and bad? And they're starting to see a lot more cool, good things in people around them. Because they understand it had nothing to do with them. It was something that happened a long time ago, and it was outside of their control this time. But they got it figured out, and now they're on a different path. So hopefully that helps. Any other inputs on this, or do we have any other? Did you get the answer you were looking for, Holly?
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, who's got another question? Oh, go
I
ahead.
have a follow-up on that. So Holly, just to let you know, I don't know if you've looked into it. The same author has another book called Destiny of Souls, and it might answer some of the things that you're wondering about.
So,
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
and Mark added in there, maybe a life lesson brought forward that needed to be learned. Yes. So we got all sorts of cool stuff coming. Lenora.
There is in some of what Bashar talks about, his big thing is permission slips. And he will say, whatever permission slip you need to do what you want to do, use it. And he'll even say that, the conversations people have with him, or using him as an access point to ask your questions. He's saying, I am your permission slip. Use this however you need to. So even looking at your own beliefs and starting to allow yourself the permission to shift them, allow yourself the permission to look at them without judgment and to see if there's another way. And if so, what might that look like? And I think it was that word last week. And then the word experience. Permission slip and experience were 2 words last week. I have this massive whiteboard. If you're all wondering, what is she doing over there? It's ginormous. And I write stuff down all the time. I allow myself the permission to experience and look at what my life would be like if there was no partner for me. And allow your mind to create that space. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Does it look like anything that you want it to look or feel like? And then allow yourself the permission to look at and to experience what that life might look like. And then this was something really interesting. And Elijah has said this to me, and TJ has said this to me. And many people have said to look forward to your future, to be excited about the uncertainty. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting that I heard differently was there's only more of you in the future. You're going to meet more of you. And isn't that exciting? And that really flipped things for me. And I thought, wow, that is kind of exciting, especially for how much we all love the phenomenal world of help yourself and growth and insights. So if we get to look forward to meeting more of ourselves, we also then get to, you can even have, I know we talk about, I don't think this is in the realm of deep trance identification, but if you imagine yourself in this life, give yourself the permission to experience life 5 years from now without somebody. Land down, look around. What does it look like? See what you see, hear what you hear. Does it look like anything that you want it to look like? Have a conversation with that version of you. What does she think about? What does she want? What is she exploring? And this goes not just for Holly, this goes for all of us. And even I give myself the permission to experience life as such and such. What does my life look like? And have that conversation. And even as you're doing that, asking, tell me what I need to know. Spend time with them each day. Tell me what I need to know about that. And I will add this, and I know I'm going on a few extra minutes of my talking here.
Keep going, no?
What I have found truly helpful, and it's like all gelling this week, which is always fun and exciting. Have conversations with that one. And you have this version of you. And then, I don't know if I'm alone in this one, I have a little younger nervous self who's quite nervous and quite vocal about all of her worries. Spend time with her. That's what I've also done. Making it a point to sit with her each morning and let her get her worries out, let her get whatever she needs to talk about out in the open, who can comfort her, who can support her, and then go forward. And when I tell you the difference in my everyday life that just doing that for 10 minutes a day makes in my life is massive, wildly massive. So I highly encourage people to look both ways. Look at the windshield ahead of you and to also look in the rear view. And I was trying to close that loop for the mirrors, and I don't know if I did a very good job, but those are my thoughts on that right now. Hi, Mike.
And that's where the future pacing can be so much fun. There are some people that have a little pushback on future pacing until they understand, yes, you can future pace a life, live it, and see what you like best about it. Be able to look back to see if there were any landmines along the way that you have to take care of. When is the best time to defuse a bomb? Left of bang. For those of you that have no idea what that phrase means, it's a military phrase where if the bomb is set to go off at 12 o'clock noon, best time to defuse it and show up is any time left of that so you can get it done before the boom. And future pacing is one of those ways where you can test drive a life and decide, does this work? Is there something I can change? Is there something I can improve on? So if anybody out there is interested in working on that, trying that, reach out again to one of us. Be more than happy to help you out. It's all about the improvement. Being in competition with the person you were yesterday, last week, last month. So you're not the same person next year. And there's nothing wrong with who you are today. Let's get that straight. You're operating, you're here, you're good. But there's always room for improvement. Goes right with my saying of, instead of perfection, pursue excellence. Perfection doesn't exist. Excellence can be built upon minute by minute by minute, because there's always something that you can do to be more excellent. Anybody got anything else they want to add to that, or do we have a new question, topics? We go through this every week. Bueller.
Great movie.
Come on now, I know you guys have booklets of questions. Really? Really? Okay, Lenora.
I liked this idea. Nothing is stopping you but you. What do you imagine is in your way? I thought that was really interesting, especially because for the longest time, and it is shifting, I'm happy to report, I would think, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Rather than thinking, what else am I doing right? How is this helping me get to where I want to go? And just even in that shift of language, I thought it was super, super powerful for me. I was curious as to how you might use it. Nothing is stopping you but you. What do you imagine is in your way? And sometimes it might be, well, gee, I'm the one in my own freaking way. You give yourself the permission to help yourself get out of your own way.
Who's got something for it?
I was just gonna say, I think what happens is sometimes we put barriers in front of us because we're afraid to see what's on the other side. A lot of times, because you may think, well, I'm not ready for that next stage of my life, or I'm not ready for this. And boy, if I go out there and I do that, then man, that's scary. And I've been in that situation a bunch. It's like, oh, I can't handle that. So anyway,
I've
not very
definitely been there
profound.
too.
No, it's a good answer. I appreciate that. Holly.
Mm.
So I absolutely love that. One thing that I would always add to it too would be, and now that you have noticed, and now as you move those things out of your way, what do you notice has changed? Because I hate the idea of any statement that leaves the stuff in my way. So I just want to automatically move it out of the way once I notice it. But
Okay, I didn't write it down fast enough. I was trying to find the marker.
Oh, see if I can remember what I said. So add to it, and now notice, and what do you notice has changed now that you have moved it out of your way?
Right. And what do you have noticed has changed? Thank you for repeating that.
Awesome stuff. Who else has something to add? Because my squirrels are lining up like it's a parade. Mike.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
You can't hear me. Okay, cool. I think people say, I want to be happy. I want to feel good. Well, that's too ethereal. So having things that you can hold, things that you can track, things that you can monitor to be able to move forward and know whether or not you're in progress or not. So that I think really rolls into what we're talking about now. What has changed, now we're noticing, and now we're categorizing it and shelving that and moving that on. Really gives you the opportunity to recognize when it comes up. And now you have gone through that process. You can go and see how that process worked in order to move forward. And if it has to be done again, you've already gone through it, and move on from there. If that makes sense. Sorry.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. Elijah.
Sometimes in life, we make choices that set us on a path. And those choices are well-founded, chosen for the right reasons. And that path that it sets us on may limit certain options or actions. And the thing is, if you know me for any amount of time, you'll know that something I hark on and on and on about is all you are is changing. All you are is change. All you are is changing. All you are is change. All you are is changing. All you are. And so at some point, a time might come when enough small incremental changes have happened that mean that that choice that was once made may no longer serve. And it's not a judgment on the old version of you that made that choice, nor the part that was created that kept you on that restricted, limiting path between then and now. If anything, there is gratitude for a job well done during times of need. To sit and ask, why is a part of me blocking myself. Why am I stopping my own progress? It's like asking why leaves fall. It's in their nature. It's in that part's nature to protect you the way you wanted it to back then when it was created. Perhaps there is a better question. Why do we block ourselves? To preserve life? To protect what is precious? To remain safe? The real question is, what is worth protecting now that you've changed and grown? What are some of those things that you will no longer stand for? What are some of those things you will no longer accept? And how can you use all this experience you have of blocking something to now block something else? That something else which stands between you and what you want. Just some food for thought.
You rock, my friend. I'm going to have to go back and edit the recording with a disclaimer. Do not listen to while driving or operating heavy machinery. Anybody else got anything they want to share before I share what the squirrels, well, as soon as my squirrels come out of trance, I'll share with you. One of the things that I learned from Lillian Bridges, Lillian Pearl Bridges, what an amazing woman. Oh my goodness, so blessed to have met her, is when you think there's this block that's keeping you from something, describe the block. So many people think that there's this huge wall in front of them that they're never going to be able to get over. And you tell them to get closer and closer and describe it. And they find out that the wall is that thick, made of styrofoam. It was an illusion, like the spotlight effect, made up of stories that were given to you from conception on, that you believed to be true. I had one client that was describing how they were just drowning in this situation. And I said, wow, you're drowning. So is it fresh water or salt water? They're like, what? I said, is it fresh water or salt water? Or is it sewer water? How deep is it? They didn't realize that they were drowning in 2.5 feet of clear water. All they had to do was stand up. It was a pond that they were face down in that was smaller than their room. It wasn't really a pond, it was a puddle. But when your face is laying down in a puddle, that can be a lot of water. How would you describe what is blocking you from achieving what you need to? Analyze it. Ask the questions. If you can't ask the questions, because Sometimes it is a challenge to be the driver and the passenger in the same vehicle at the same time. I know. Believe me, I know. So if you need some help with questioning, again, reach out to one of us on the call here, and we will be more than happy to help you. All right, man. Thank you for showing up, Dan. Appreciate you.
Have a good one.
So again, take a look at what it is you want to achieve, what it is you believe that is in the way of that. How would you describe what you believe is in the way? What is it made from? And is it like any other thing that you've gotten through in the past? That was another question. Well, have you gotten through a barrier like this before? Because remember, there was a time when you couldn't operate a spoon. And if you could go back to that time, that could have been a big challenge. That could have looked like a big learning how to walk. How long should you give a kid to learn how to walk? Until you don't go, well, it's been a week now. They haven't figured it out. I guess they're going to crawl for the rest of their life. And yet there will be certain things that we want to change about ourselves, and we give ourselves this time frame. Well, I tried. Really? How long? Oh, that one time, it didn't work. Well, thank God you didn't use that strategy learning how to walk or operate a spoon. Any input, ahas, comments on that? Holly?
I have a follow-up question.
Follow.
So when you're, and I know this is kind of talking about hypnotic language and just what you're sensing, but what if the problem is not that there's something in your way, something that you need to get over, under, through, whatever? What if the problem is that you seem to be chasing and chasing and chasing, and there's never anything there ever, or there's not even a path and there's not even a place where you could forge a path? Like there's nothing in my way. There's just nowhere to go to.
Mm-hmm. Anybody got an answer for that? Lenora?
The first thought was allowing. Wouldn't that be so? If nothing's in your way, but there's no path, from the sound of it, to allow a path to be made. That's the way that when I heard it, that's the way that I heard it.
Great answer. Mark?
Someone smarter than me once said, there's one of in there somewhere, it said, go where there is no path and leave a trail.
Great answer. Mike put in there, are you looking in the right direction and or at the right frequency or chunking high enough to be able to see above the trees? That's another great answer. Lenora?
I started to, it's funny. So I do listen to Bashar, but I listen to Bashar in like small bites. I'm talking like 2 or 3 minutes of time before my brain starts going with other information and insights that he kind of triggers. So one that I had started was, I am who I am, and that is enough. And he says to say it 3 times to yourself at night and in the morning. And so I ended up saying this to myself probably somewhere beyond 20 times. And as I was laying in bed and I had a hand on my heart and a hand on my stomach, and this was powerful. Super, super, super powerful. So even in thinking that, allowing that peace to resolve within you, and notice all the good that comes from within you and the good that is out there, in order to align it, in order to walk that path, or go where there is no path and leave a trail.
Yep. Other great answer.
My initial response was, wow, you're so lucky. No path. You know? That means, to me, that means that you're open to it happening whichever way it needs to happen. You're not constricting yourself to going on specific, particular routes, or routes for you Americans, you know? And the other one, when you first asked the question, the beginning part, something about there's nowhere to go. Again, so lucky. If there's nowhere to go, it means you're already here. Like, wow. Kind of unbelievable.
I love the way we all hear things.
Yeah, another amazing answer. And to tie in on top of all of those, it's kind of like when I tell people, you know, that phrase, think outside the box. I hate that. Why does there have to be a box? A box just denotes that there's limitations. Destroy the damn box and get back to thinking. And to play along with all of you guys, you're allowed to change your perspective. If there's no trail down where you're standing on the ground, rise up above and look down on the terrain. Change your perspective, kind of like when we do 3-chair. You sit in chair 1, chair 2, chair 3, and you let chair 1 and chair 2 have the conversation, and you switch positions. And then you sit in chair 3 and watch the conversation go back and forth and go, oh, never thought of it that way. And I'm not saying that it's uber easy, because if it was, we wouldn't be having this discussion, because everybody would be like, well, duh, that's how everybody does it. But that's why you have a tribe like this that can help you change perspectives, change the way you look at things, reframe things, ask the questions, and help you to find the direction that you didn't realize existed. Sometimes it's simple as having somebody hand you a compass. There's no trail. I just know that travel west, young man, find gold. And then when you get to the west coast and you realize water, you can decide what to do at that point. Build a ship, or head north or south, or turn around and take a different route back. Just keep going. It's an adventure. I think we've all met people who have given up on the idea that life is meant to be lived. Each day the same. Wake up at the same time, same breakfast, go punch the same button at work for the same amount of time, punch out at the same time, drive the same thing home, have the same supper, go to bed. And they do that for how many times in a row? And they call it a life. And if that's all they want to do, to call it a life, Bravo. That's theirs. They look at people like myself and some of you, and they're like, "You all be crazy." All this changey thingy, worky. That's a lot of worky. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm jealous of it, you know. Ignorance really is bliss.
Yes. And
Right. It really is. Just real quick, one thing that came to mind while you were just saying that. JP, one of your favorite people. He said the only way is through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only way is through. Whatever it is you're going through, just keep going.
The only way through is through. And if you're going through hell, make it a party. Don't stop. Keep going before the devil figures out you're there.
Good country song.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Make s'mores. Roast some weenies while you're down there. That leaves us with 13 minis on the TikTok. Holly.
Sorry, I keep having follow-up questions to the follow-up questions.
No, please, yes.
I love those, by the way. They help with a lot of them. I'm realizing I have one area of my life that I just have stuck with that's still having trouble. Because I basically feel like I've been for the last 35 years straight, and it is 35 years. Basically, I feel like I'm stuck on a Mobius strip. I do not like being anywhere on it, and I feel like I've just been running around in basically circles the entire time, but I can't get off of it. So, but I also don't like where I'm at. So I'm just trying to think what's in it. And like I said, I know this is getting into imagery and analogy, and it seems silly and everything, but what's the analogy to get off the Mobius strip that seems to have some kind of like stickiness or magnetic force to it that I can't get off of it? And you think you're going a different direction, but you just keep ending up the same spot because it's all connected no matter what direction you go.
Great question. Who's got something for Holly? Lenora. Mike.
So you feel like you've been, I know, I'm sorry, I'm processing. So you feel like you've been stuck for a period of time. I get that correct?
Basically, yeah. I mean, it feels like, oh, I'll go this direction, and then I just end up the same spot. Okay, well, what if I try this direction? End up at the same spot. Okay, let's try this direction. Okay, let's try getting off the strip. Oh, I can't get off of it. Okay, well, let's try just staying still. And oh, this is absolutely miserable, but maybe it's the best we could do. At least we're not running to get back to the same spot. Like, just expending all this energy to just keep ending up at the same spot and feeling like making no progress whatsoever. No matter how hard I try to move the direction I go.
How do you know the spot's the same?
It may not be. It feels like it's the same, but if for 35 years I would tell myself, maybe it's different, but how long do you have to wait before you keep giving it the benefit of the doubt?
What would you like, and you don't have to answer them, these are just kind of the questions that are coming up. At what point in your life did you feel if you keep coming back and you don't want to be here, where was the closest that you got to that you felt really good about? What were you doing? What was the environment like? Who were the people around? And not necessarily to go back, but to reflect back on it and say, okay, this is what was happening. This is what I liked. This is what it felt. And I felt like I was headed toward what I had wanted. And then I took a different path and I came back. So taking an inventory of what was going well at the time. And then some other things that I think, there are so many variety of ways to go. if you had a dice and you could have, there's 6 sides on a dice, what are 6 options that you would like? I don't know why dice is coming to me because dice never comes to me. There are 6 options that you could do. One is stay here. One would be go do something for the next 3 months. One would be do this for a period of time, do that period of time. What does that look like for you? What would be the most exciting? And not necessarily that it doesn't come back to here, but what would be the most exciting? And keeping in mind that when we talk about excitement, things that cause us, and did I talk about this with you guys or just in my head? Things that seem exciting, and then we look back and or you project out and it seems exciting, and then you're like, oh, but my God, how I get there, that's anxious, that makes me worry, da, 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 da. And having to really look at what causes you anxiety versus where is your excitement, and can you shift? Maybe it's not anxiety, maybe it's just excitement and the possibility of exploration.
Awesome. Mark.
I don't know if this will apply, but when you said Mobius strip, an old squirrel popped up when you can't escape it. But if you cut a Mobius strip down the center, and just before you make that last snip, it seems to defy the laws of physics when you do that, because you end up with 2 nested loops. But what if you divided it? What if you then cut that double loop into another, cut that one down the middle, and do that infinitely? You'd create some kind of a reality that nobody's ever contemplated, basically. But that's a physics answer to, because it would never end, that that Mobius strip. If you kept slicing it in half infinitely, you'd create a complexity, a reality that nobody's ever contemplated. Anyway, that's where my squirrel came from.
And that brought my squirrels up going, we got something. If you're familiar with the movie Groundhog Day, what did he finally decide he was going to do, knowing that he was stuck in Groundhog Day? He worked on himself. He decided if I was going to be in this environment, I was going to end up in the same place. I was not going to end up in the same place as the same person. Learned how to play piano. What else did he do? I know he did all sorts of funky stuff, like kept people from stepping in the same water, kept people from accidents, all sorts of stuff. And he learned the environment well enough that he was able to make the best of every 24 hours. Even though he was going to end up in the same place and had to start over again. And that may be something you could decide that at the end of the day, if I'm going to wake up same place and have to do this over again, I'm not going to be the same person. That makes sense? That helps?
Those are all great answers. Thank you so much, everyone. Seriously, mind blown.
We like it when we can. And that leaves us with 5 minis. Anybody got a quick question or something they want to share before it's time for us to call it another night? Come on, Lenora.
There was something I thought was interesting. You choose the theme of your life like you're choosing a hallway or a path. That you chose to explore certain themes in your life. And this one I find to agree with. I think there were two big things that I wanted to explore because they're very dominant in my life. I know for sure two of them, mostly because it's kind of like out of your mess, make your message. So that's where I thought that was very interesting. But what are other people's thoughts? You think you came here to explore something specific?
Well, I have to admit I missed that because Mike asked
I
a
see that.
great question over in the quiet space that nobody gets to see.
Go for it.
You want to ask your question, Mike, or do you want me to read it?
I can try. When you take a journey of improvement, there are things that you feel great, wonderful, and different. That is it. That
You
is
can paraphrase it. You wrote it.
Oh, you can go ahead. But it's yeah, you can do it, I guess.
Well, how did you mean the question?
Well, it's there's I guess before you started this self-improvement journey or wherever you wanted to go, what is it that you wanted? And why are you committing to do that journey and spend the money and spend the time and spend the energy? And do you have the right questions available to fulfill as you move through the journey to know that you're actually improving? And then when you move away from that journey, whether it's a seminar or a class or whatever, what draws you back into where you were before? And what was lost? Why didn't it feel great? What was there an anchor that wasn't placed in it correctly? Or was it something that just happened underneath your unconscious that naturally dropped you back into the wake up, eat your cereal, all that stuff? What is it that you actually need to change yourself to pull yourself out of the rut to make yourself a new pathway different? That makes any sense.
That makes so much sense. That is such an amazing line, array of questions that I wish you would have asked it at the beginning of the hour. Because literally, who on here agrees that we could go for a half an hour, 45 minutes on this? Yeah. I can, because we've got like 60 seconds left in my promised, I'm going to do my best to summarize this super quickly. A lot of people don't realize that there is change available. I know because I've met them. They're happy with the same cheese sandwich from the buffet their entire life. Nothing against a good cheese sandwich. I like a good cheese sandwich. But they just know that that's all they're meant to eat because they've never seen the rest of the buffet. They just walk in, they sit at the same booth, the same time, every day, all day. The waitress brings them a cheese sandwich, and they never realize they could ask for something else. It's when you find out that somebody's walking by and they have pizza and a donut and a bowl of soup and a steak that you go, and the waitress goes, oh, well, yeah, the buffet is right over there. You can have whatever you want. And you have to decide now, can you eat a steak? Can you find the seafood island? Are you allowed to go to the dessert island? Are you going to sit in the same booth when you load up your plate? And for some people, walking over to the other part of the buffet can be scary, especially when they hear limiting beliefs. We don't eat over there. That's for the other people. Well, if you eat that, you know it could upset your tummy. Well, if you eat that, you're going to get sick or fat or you can't afford that. And all these limiting beliefs get put in. And some people look at the weight and the expense of the limiting beliefs, and that's enough for them to go, you know what? The waitress brings me my cheese sandwich every day, right here. I know what it tastes like. I know what it feels like. I'm good. And then you got other people like some of us on the call that go, no, have you seen what they've got on the buffet? Like, dude, like, oh. Well, have you ever gotten anything you don't like? Yeah. I don't eat it anymore. That's how I found out I didn't like it. And that's okay. And it's okay to eat your cheese sandwich. It's okay to go back to a cheese sandwich as a break from all that other good stuff. Sometimes I like a good cheese sandwich because I got some really good tomato soup. Oh, tomato soup. Mm-hmm. But to answer, I hope that little analogy, that little metaphor kind of wrapped it up, is some people don't realize that there's a buffet. Others people will tell themselves they're not allowed in the buffet. And other people will scare themselves into what might happen if they eat something else from the buffet. And here we are. We're the ones advertising the buffet. Look what you could have. Hey. All that to say, if anybody out there on the call is looking for something better, something bigger, something different, reach out. It's stuff that we do. And unfortunately, one of the things that we do is I made a promise 145 sessions ago that I would restrict this to 2 hours so that everybody would know what to set aside for their time in their life. So it's time for me to say adios and thank you so much for being here and offering up your precious commodity of time. I will always say it means so much to me because I cannot reproduce time yet and give it back to you. You'll be the second one to know. Until then, I appreciate you offering it up here on this platform for everybody else. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, good night. Love you, Mom. And for those of you that have watched the recording all the way to the end, thank you as well. I sure appreciate all of your support. Please do all the YouTube stuff, subscribe and like and comment and share this, because somebody out there needs to hear this. And it's possible because of all of you. So thank you. Have a great night. Elijah, have a great day. Love you all, and I will hopefully see your amazing, beautiful faces in 7 more days. Go out and make the world a better place and live life full throttle. Bye.
Good night, all.